We're in the middle of our afternoon walk, and I thought I would stop and just take a minute to tell you about this year's Three Rivers Homestead Pantry Challenge. So first things first, I will put a link to Jessica's video. She is the one hosting the Pantry Challenge, and please go over there and check that out because she explains everything about the challenge. To sum it all up, basically the goal is just to get through things in the pantry before they go bad. This will be our, I believe, third year doing the Pantry Challenge, and we made a couple of videos last year during last year's Pantry Challenge, and I'll also link those below if you want to go back and watch those. I hope to do a better job this year on filming what we're eating and things like that that kind of go along with the Pantry Challenge, so stay tuned for some videos. I can't promise that I'll be able to film everything that we eat every single day, but I'll try to give you a little glimpse and a little peek into what it is that we're eating in our pantry. The best part of the Pantry Challenge is that there are no rules. You can basically create your own rules. To keep things simple, we're going to do what we did last year, which is to give ourselves $100 per month to buy groceries. The main reason that we give ourselves a small budget like that is because we live in a camper trailer, and so our refrigerator and our freezer are extremely small. However, I do want to say that this past month in December, I did place an Azure standard order. So please just know that this is an Azure order that I placed back in early December and just picked it up yesterday actually. Happy January and happy first day of Three Rivers Pantry Challenge. Today I am making a chocolate zucchini bread with Asian pear butter that I made a couple of years ago that we didn't really care for. So I've been using it up primarily in baking. And then also I have zucchini from our garden from this past summer that was frozen. And I thawed it overnight, and I'm using this to make my bread. While I mix this up, I'll tell you what all I put in here. So I'm starting with 2 cups of self-rising flour because that's what I have on hand. And then to that I added half of a teaspoon of baking powder. And then I added about 1/4 cup of dark cocoa powder, 2 eggs, a 1/2 cup of avocado oil, about 2 cups of grated zucchini with the liquid in it. I didn't strain it or drain any of the liquid out first. I'm going to add about 2 teaspoons of vanilla. And this is homemade vanilla that I made. And then I added a cup of my homemade Asian pear butter. Once I get this all mixed together, I'm going to give it a taste and just make sure that it has enough sweetness. Let's taste this really quick. It's not super sweet, so I am going to add some sugar. These are tablespoons. 2, 3, probably 3 tablespoons of sugar. And I realized that there was raw eggs in there when I taste tested it. And that's okay. We make mayo around here with raw eggs, so we're not scared of a little bit of raw egg because the eggs are fresh. They came from our farm. So I've been taste testing raw eggs with our eggs here, and so far, knock on wood, I've not had any issues. So now I'm going to add some chocolate chips. Probably I'm trying to hold on to these because these need to last us through, not this exact jar. I have, I think, 4 more pint jars of chocolate chips. But we need these to last until the end of the Pantry Challenge. So, let's see. I might just add about 1/4 cup or so. Alright, this is all mixed in. Got these little silicone cupcake cups. So I'm going to scoop this up into here. Alright, so it looks like that's going to make about 12 muffins with a little bit left over, a little bit of batter left over. So let's pop these in. Okay, it's been 20 minutes and I'd say these are looking done. I'm going to poke one with a toothpick just to make sure. I think they're done. And I had enough batter to make 3 more muffins, so I'm going to put these back in the wood stove for another 20 minutes. And then for dinner tonight, I had some Greek chicken in the fridge that's been marinating for a couple days. And I've already got that cooked in this skillet. Got it out on a plate, and now I'm just sauteing some cabbage. I also have some leftover jasmine rice from dinner last night, so I'm going to heat this up, and we'll have Greek chicken over rice with cabbage for dinner, and then we'll have chocolate zucchini muffins for dessert. And here's my plate. Probably not the most beautiful looking food, but it does taste very good. Very good. And here's James' food. He's not going to eat right now, so I'm going to cover this with aluminum foil, and then he can just put this whole skillet in the oven later and reheat it whenever he's ready to eat. There we go. Here's what the inside of the chocolate zucchini muffins look like. You can see the gooey chocolate right there because I used those giant chocolate chips. So that's what you're seeing that's gooey. And I'll just share a few clips of some of the other things we had to eat this week. So right here I had made a gluten-free pizza crust and baked up a pepperoni and cheese pizza. And on the back there you can see I've got some hard-boiled eggs bowling. And whenever I've got a few extra eggs on hand, I like to hard-boil those up for snacks. My pizza turned out really good. January 2nd, and for dinner I'm having leftover cabbage soup, and I accidentally spilled some right here. Then I'm having leftover pizza from lunch. Another dinner that I had this week was Thai green curry with jasmine rice, and this is something that I had leftover that I had made earlier on, and so I'm just heating up some leftovers for dinner. Here I'm having a lunch of tuna salad with some of those hard-boiled egg in there with homemade mayo that I made. And this is just a quick and easy lunch that I like to have. This mayo is super easy to make, and I use eggs from our farm with avocado oil, and it gets the job done. It tastes really good. And then for dinner, I had some, again, leftover jasmine rice with leftover baked sweet potatoes and some chicken that I had grilled up. I like to bake whenever I'm doing potatoes, a whole bunch of them at a time. That way, throughout the week, we can just eat what we want. Another quick dinner that we had this week was some mac and cheese. So I've got some gluten-free shaped noodles here and some organic cheese powder with a little bit of butter and oat milk. And that makes for a really delicious quick dinner. And this will be the last dish of the video. I wanted to show you guys how I'm going to make spaghetti with meat sauce. And it's got a little bit of a twist. Got some bacon fat that I keep in a jar. And I'm going to put that into my hot Dutch oven. I'm going to add 1 diced onion to that and start to let that cook down. Then we're going to add a pound of ground beef and just let that all cook down together. You can see it's starting to render down here. So So we'll just stir that around as it goes and get the meat nice and broke up. Now we're going to add a quart of tomatoes, and this is from our garden from this year. So we'll just dump those in. And then I'm going to add about 2 cups of water to that as well. Next, we're going to add a half a cup of red lentils. And I measure them out into a bowl so that I can sort through them and make sure there's no rocks or debris or any bad looking lentils. So once I've got that all sorted through, then we can dump those into the pot. Next, we're going to add some Italian herb seasoning that I had made a couple years ago, and I just want to get this used up. So we'll add about a tablespoon of that. And then to add a little bit of heat, I'm going to add about a teaspoon of this freeze-dried pepper powder that I had made 2 years ago as well. And it turns out you don't need very much of this. So about I think I did a teaspoon. Right here I'm showing half a teaspoon. Next, we're going to add some freeze-dried peppers that we had preserved from the garden this year. And I'm just going to add a little bit of those just to add some color and texture to the sauce. So I think I end up adding about 1/4 cup or so. But if I had a whole pepper, I would just go ahead and dice that up and add in 1 whole pepper. Get all those ingredients stirred in. This is garlic powder that I bought. And I'm going to add some of that into our sauce, about a teaspoon or so. That should be enough. We're going to add this little can of tomato paste, and that'll give it more of a tomato flavor and color that I'm looking for. So we'll just get that opened up. That still looks good even though it's expired. And we're not going to waste anything. So to get the rest of the remnants out of this little can, I'm going to pour some hot water into it. And we're just going to let that sit on the counter for a few minutes while I go back over here and stir in everything. And as you can see, the pot is starting to boil, which is good. That will help cook down everything and render in the lentils and rehydrate those peppers that were freeze-dried. And then as this tomato paste dissolves from this little bitty can, I can go ahead and add that into the pot as well. That way we're not losing any flavor. And here's little Mumar. She's letting me know she's ready for her dinner too. Alright, we've got all of our ingredients in the pot, so we're just going to get everything stirred around really, really well. And as you can see, those lentils and those peppers, they're already starting to cook down and rehydrate. So we'll just get everything stirred around really good, and then I'm going to go ahead and put the lid on this and just let it cook away for as long as possible until we're ready to eat. And like I said, this is going to be a twist of a dish. So here I've got some spaghetti squash that we've been roasting in the oven with a little bit of butter in the middle. And we're just checking on those right now to see how far along they are. And they look like they're pretty well done. So we're going to pull those out. So we're going to use a fork right here. And we're going to scrape the inside of this spaghetti squash. And as you can see, as we pull that down, it makes little strings like noodles. And of course we can't forget about Moose. She wants to be included in the pantry challenge as well. So I'm going to make her some dinner really quick. I've just got a little bit of meat scraps right here that I set aside whenever I'm trimming my meat. And I cook that up for her. So I put a little bit of that in a bowl with some hot water just to kind of make like a broth. And then I put her kibble on top of that and mix everything really nicely. And sometimes that water that I add in is quite hot, So I'll go back and add some cool water to it. And that does make it kind of soupy. But with that meat flavor, oh yeah, she's ready to eat. And now that Moose is fed, let's go back and check on our meal. As you can see, everything is simmering really nicely. We got a nice little bowl here. So I'm just going to give it a stir and make sure that nothing is sticking to the bottom. And it looks like everything's cooked, so I would say this sauce is done and we can eat. And here's our plate. We've got our sauce, and then we're going to scoop out our spaghetti squash noodles. And on top of that, I've put some black pepper and some Parmesan cheese. Moose wants a taste test, but she's not going to get one. Alright guys, so that's the end of this video. We're going to have our dinner, and I hope you guys are having a great pantry challenge, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye.
It looks amazing. It looks like spaghetti. I got my meat sauce, I got some Parmesan, got some squash. Bon appetit.
Yum.
Wow. It's really good.
Does it seem like a noodle?
It seems like a noodle. It seems like an al dente noodle.
I decided I wanted to go ahead and cook up some white rice for our chickens.